I lost everything when the HOA torched my mansion, but they never dreamed I'd use my fortune to buy their precious organization and flip their world upside down. Would you have the guts to dismantle a corrupt HOA that ruined your life? Let me know where you're reading from in the comments below. It started with a neon pink violation notice in my hand. I stared at Linda Carter, standing on my doorstep with her arms crossed, a clipboard pressed against her chest, and a smirk that didn't touch her eyes. "Rules are rules, Mr. Bennett," she said. "Your rose bushes are 2 inches too tall. Oakwood Heights has standards to uphold." 20 years I'd poured into that house. Countless late nights, meticulous planning, every detail perfected. My 3-story dream home was a monument to grit and determination. The garden alone took 5 years to cultivate, those roses planted by my late wife, Emily. 2 inches, really? I asked, glancing at the flawless blooms. "They're award-winning. Can't you bend the rules just this once?" Linda's smirk tightened. "Exceptions breed disorder. You've got 48 hours to trim them, or it's a $100 daily fine." She strutted down my stone path, pausing to snap photos of my fountain with her phone. I had a sinking feeling this was only the beginning. I was right. The next morning, 5 more notices plastered my door like a bad prank. Unapproved water feature, non-standard mailbox, excessive holiday decorations. It was February. I'd left up a single heart wreath by mistake. My coffee went cold as I read them aloud. My neighbor, Tom Grayson, waved from across the street, then hurried over, casting a wary glance toward Linda's house down the block. "Looks like she's got a new target," he muttered. "What's her deal?" I asked. Tom lowered his voice. "She's gunning for HOA president next month. The current one's retiring. Every election, she picks a few homeowners to harass, shows she's tough on rule breakers. Last time, she drove the Petersons out. Their house sold cheap to her brother's real estate firm. Pure coincidence, right?" "That's nuts," I said. "Welcome to Oakwood Heights." Tom clapped my shoulder. "My advice: just comply." She made the Petersons' lives hell until they caved. That afternoon, I trimmed roses that didn't need it. As the sun dipped, I gazed at my stunning home, Italian fountain gurgling, vintage Mustang gleaming in the driveway, wondering why anyone would care. The next day, 3 more violations: car not garaged, excessive water use, trash cans misplaced. This was getting absurd. I called the HOA management company. "Sorry, Mr. Bennett," the rep said, "but our inspection team verified everything. You can appeal next month, but fines pile up till then." I tried reasoning with Linda face to face. Big mistake. She answered her door in an HOA polo shirt like it was a badge of honor. "I'm just doing my job," she said, not inviting me in. If everyone ignored the rules, property values would tank. "My house is the priciest here," I pointed out. Her eyes flickered. "Jealousy, maybe? Size isn't everything, Mr. Bennett. Uniformity brings peace." 2 weeks and $1,400 in fines later, I hit my first HOA meeting. Barely anyone showed. Linda sat at the board table, not yet president, but clearly in charge. The board deferred to her constantly. When I raised my violations, the president cut me off. Compliance first, appeals later. Driving home, I spotted Linda's brother's car in her driveway, his face familiar from his real estate ads. Something stank. That night, sleepless, I dug into Oakwood Heights property maps online. My lot was the biggest, prime real estate at the neighborhood's entrance with killer mountain views, a developer's goldmine. Then it clicked: targeted homeowners, cheap sales, her brother snapping up properties. I scoured old HOA newsletters. 5 years, 8 families pushed out by violation blitzes. All their homes now owned by Carter Realty Company. "So that's the scam," I muttered. Next day, I had my house inspected independently, everything aced: wiring, plumbing, structure. I set up security cameras and documented every inch. When Linda slapped me with another violation, grass an 1/8 inch too tall, I was ready. "Selective enforcement's illegal," I told her calmly, showing my evidence. "Neighbors have the same grass, mailboxes, fountains, no violations." "Are you threatening me?" Her voice rose. "Just pointing out what's happening to property values when certain folks are singled out." She stormed off. For a week, no new notices. I thought I'd won. Then came an emergency HOA meeting notice, sole topic: my property at 1421 Maple Ridge Drive. At the meeting, Linda unveiled a slideshow of my home, photos twisted to make it look menacing. "This eyesore's killing our community's charm," she declared. "Property values will crash unless we act." Board members nodded. Her brother, Mark, sat in back, poring over blueprints. I stepped up with my own folder. "Before we go on, check these. Assessments proving my home boosts values by 15%. Plus, photos of 18 other houses with identical features. No violations." Murmurs rippled. Linda tried to interrupt, but I kept going. "And here's sales data. Targeted properties sold dirt cheap. All to Carter Realty." People turned to Mark. "This isn't relevant." Linda snapped, but doubt was sown. The meeting ended without a vote. Tom and his wife, Lisa, caught me outside. "That took guts," Lisa whispered. "But watch out, Linda doesn't quit." "I'm not worried," I said, though their worried looks lingered. That night, an email announced an HOA inspection tomorrow, electrical hazards. My lawyer said to record everything. I checked my cameras and tried to sleep, uneasy. At 7 a.m., 3 guys in HOA shirts pounded on my door, Linda lurking behind. "Mandatory safety check." The tallest barked, flashing a flimsy badge. "My lawyer says no entry without proper notice." I replied, chain-latched. Linda shoved forward. "Yesterday's email counts. Fire risks need instant action." "Fire risks?" I scoffed. "My wiring's certified." "A neighbor saw sparks from your roof," she said, avoiding my gaze. I let them in, recording every step. They fixated on my breaker box. One kept slipping off alone until I followed. Linda photographed irrelevant stuff, like my bookshelves. "Your solar panels violate code," she claimed from my bedroom window. "City approved, certified install," I shot back. "HOA rules trump city," she snapped. "They're glare hazards." After they left, my cameras caught one guy lingering at the breaker, his back blocking the view. I called Tom. "Ever had an HOA fire inspection?" "Never," he said. "That's not their job. Needs licensed pros." Dread growing, I backed up files to the cloud, photographed valuables, packed a go-bag. That afternoon, I added more cameras and sensors. Linda and Mark watched from down the street, peeling out when I stared back. I considered moving my Mustang, but didn't want to look scared. My insurance confirmed full coverage, including fire. "You're set, Mr. Bennett," the agent said. Dinner with the Graysons was tense. "We should have warned you," Lisa said, pouring wine. "Last year, the Hendersons' garden got trashed overnight. No proof, but we knew it was her." "It's not just vandalism now," Tom added. "Mike Torres challenged her last summer. 2 weeks later, a pipe burst in his house while he was away. Water ruined everything. Sold to Mark for peanuts." At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed, a security alert. A hooded figure tampered with my breaker box. I called 911, but they'd vanished by the time I got downstairs. Cops took a report, nothing actionable. "Hire private security," they suggested. An electrician checked later. "Someone messed with this, could have sparked a fire." I filed another report with his findings. Fines quadrupled that day, $10,000 for noncompliance and hazards. My lawyer said fighting it would drag on. That night, Linda held a safety meeting at her place. Tom texted, "They're calling your house a danger," showing fake photos. Mark's pushing community acquisition. I researched HOA laws. Eminent domain threats were hollow, but they'd try anything. Next morning, a board member, Margaret, visited. "Linda's convinced the board your home's a liability," she whispered, handing me a USB. Clubhouse footage from Tuesday's closed session. It showed Linda and Mark plotting condos on my lot. "Once Bennett's out, we'll rezone. Huge ROI," Mark said. I sent it to my lawyer, grounds for a lawsuit. That night, I took it to the city council with neighbors backing me. Showing the tampering evidence, a city inspector vowed to probe the HOA. Hope flickered. But when I got home, my security was down. Inside, the breaker was off. Flipping it, I heard crackling upstairs. Smoke poured from my office. Flames devoured the curtains. I grabbed what I could and called 911. By the time I stumbled out, fire engulfed my home. Across the street, Linda smiled. 3 hours away at a conference, I'd gotten Lisa's panic call. "HOA people are on your property. Linda's got papers." Cops said they couldn't act without proof of trespass. My HOA contract allowed emergency inspections with 24-hour notice. Notice I never got. I raced home to flames swallowing my mansion. A firefighter held me back. Electrical, the chief said. Breaker fault. Impossible, I croaked. Upgraded last month, certified. We'll investigate, he promised. My insurance dropped a bomb. Your policy changed 3 weeks ago. No fire coverage. The signature? A crude forgery. The fire report confirmed arson, breaker tampered with. A PI found Linda and board members entered my home with tools during that inspection. Mark's new realty firm wanted my 3-acre lot for millions. Police stalled. Linda's husband, an ex-cop, had pull. The DA cited insufficient evidence. Standing in my home's ashes, rain mingling with tears, I vowed, this isn't over. They thought I'd fold. They didn't know me. $6 million, my banker gasped. You sure? Yes, today, I said. I'd learned Oakwood Heights HOA was run by Summit Property Management, a private firm. Homeowners had no real say. Linda was their pawn. One investor was selling his 30% stake in Summit. $6 million bought it. Through a shell company, I became the largest shareholder, keeping it secret. An HOA letter demanded I clear my unsightly lot or pay $500 daily. Signed by Linda. Perfect timing. At their emergency meeting, Linda pitched buying my land for a park, read, condos. I stood. I've got a question. Why buy my lot? It's not for sale. HOA bylaws allow it for abandonment, she snapped. Interesting, I said, because I just bought 30% of Summit Property Management. Gasps. Linda paled. Tomorrow, I'm auditing 5 years of HOA records, including my fire. Her hands shook. You can't. I can. And I will. I faced the crowd. This HOA's bullied you. Fines, forced sales. That stops now. Stories poured out. Families like the Graysons, pushed out by fake violations. Linda lunged. Her husband restrained her. You'll regret this, she hissed. No, you will, I whispered back. My PI texted, proof of Linda's arson, video of Mark at your breaker. The next day, I fired Summit's shady execs. Police arrested Linda and Mark, and I helped displaced families reclaim homes. 9 months later, my new mansion rose, community-focused, with gardens for all. Linda got 8 years, Mark 5. Oakwood Heights bloomed anew, a real neighborhood. The HOA burned my world, but from the ashes, I built something better, a home, a community, stronger than ever.